The following is your story about the taboo of the haunted castle. It is narrated in the first person and tells the story of an American wife and the ghosts of previous owners of the castle. It should meet the requirements for describing the appearance and figure of a beautiful woman, the plot twists and turns, and the word count of each chapter. I have come up with an outline for the story for you. The overall story revolves around the female protagonist, Emily. After she and her husband move into the castle, they are attracted to the ghosts of the previous owners, and their relationship gradually deepens, which arouses her husband's suspicions. Eventually, after a series of events, the female protagonist faces a choice, and the story reaches its climax. The following are the specific chapter contents. My name is Emily. I am a tall, fair-haired European woman with a slender waist and long, straight legs. My husband and I are newlyweds and have moved into this old castle. The moment we stepped in, a cold breath hit us, but I was inexplicably excited. At night, the moonlight shone on the bed, and I seemed to see a vague figure flash past, a figure that made my heart beat faster. After that night, I could often feel that there were eyes watching me in the dark. One evening, I was taking a walk in the garden when a man in period costume appeared before me. He had a handsome face and deep eyes, and was the ghost of the first owner of the castle. We looked at each other, and I couldn't take my eyes off him. An inexplicable feeling grew in my heart. From then on, the phantom owner and I often had secret meetings. He gently stroked my long hair, and I sank into his embrace. His kisses were cold but made me obsessed. I knew it was a forbidden love, but I couldn't help myself. I hid it from my husband and indulged in this mysterious and exciting emotion. My unusual behavior still aroused my husband's suspicions. He began to pay attention to my every move and ask me where I was every night. I always stuttered and felt full of guilt. But whenever the phantom owner appeared, I would forget everything and continue this dangerous affair. During one of our trysts, the phantom owner revealed the secret of the castle to me. It turned out that every owner of the castle has been trapped here after death. He longs for freedom, and I seem to be the key to unlock the imprisonment. I was both scared and curious, not knowing what consequences the secret would bring me. My husband became increasingly suspicious and hired an exorcist. The exorcist arrived at the castle, sensed something unusual, and began preparing for the exorcism. I was worried that the ghostly master of the house would be harmed, but I could do nothing to stop it. At night, the ritual began, and a strange atmosphere filled the castle. As the exorcism reached a critical moment, a sudden gust of wind blew out the candles. I looked for the ghostly master of the house in the darkness, but I found that he had become weak. Just then, my husband rushed over to protect me, but was knocked back by the ghost master's strength. I was in a dilemma, not knowing who to save. I looked at my injured husband and the weak ghost master, and my heart was filled with pain. On the one hand was the real marriage, and on the other was the forbidden love. In the end, I decided to save my husband first, but the ghost master disappeared as a result. I thought it was over, but at night, he appeared before me again, carrying resentment. The ghostly host threatened me, saying that if I did not help him regain his freedom, he would take my husband's life. In fear and struggle, I finally found a way to break the spell. On a full moon night, I completed the ritual, and the ghostly host regained his freedom, but he left me forever. My husband and I decided to leave the ancient castle and start a new life. Do you think the above content meets your expectations? If you have any comments on the plot, character settings, etc., such as further requirements for the appearance of the female protagonist, or if you want the plot to take a different turn, you can let me know at any time. My name is Isabella. I just turned 28 this year. I'm tall, with long, golden hair that shines like the sun, falling casually over my shoulders. When the wind blows, the hair sways gently, exuding a faint lavender fragrance. My blue eyes are as deep as the Mediterranean Sea, as if hiding countless unknown secrets. My full red lips always carry a mysterious smile, making people can't help but want to find out more. My high nose bridge adds a sense of three-dimensionality to my delicate face. I am wearing a well-fitting white dress, the soft silk material hugging my body curves and showing off my shapely figure to the fullest. My husband is busy at work, running around after business all day at the office and has no time to spend with me. And I, in this dull and boring life, long for a different kind of adventure. Just then, I learned that the family had an ancient castle passed down through the generations, nestled deep in the mountains away from the hustle and bustle of the city. It was said to be full of mystery. Since I can remember, few people have mentioned the ancient castle, as if it were a forgotten corner of the family. Driven by curiosity, I decided to go to the mysterious ancient castle alone for a holiday. After a long drive, I finally arrived in front of the ancient castle. The castle stands at the edge of a dense forest. The ancient stone walls are modeled from the erosion of time. The huge iron gate is closed, covered with moss and vines, as if telling the story of the vicissitudes of time. I gently pushed open the iron gate. Creak, the harsh sound echoed in the still air, making my heart tighten involuntarily. Stepping into the hall of the ancient castle, a chill came over me, and I couldn't help but shiver. The hall was dimly lit, with only a few rays of weak sunlight shining through the gaps in the worn-out curtains and falling on the ground, creating patches of dappled light and shadow. Ancient portraits hung on the walls around me, and the eyes in the paintings seemed to be staring at me intently, making me feel uncomfortable. I slowly walked up the stairs, the wooden floorboards creaking under my feet. With each step, I could hear the echoes of history. I arrived at the room prepared for me. The room was filled with an old-fashioned atmosphere, and the furniture, although old, was still in fairly good condition. I walked to the window and looked out at the gloomy forest. An inexplicable sense of anticipation welled up in my heart, but I also felt a vague sense of unease. I had no idea what awaited me in this mysterious ancient castle, but I firmly believed that this journey would be an unforgettable experience in my life. I had no idea that there were countless secrets hidden here that could change my destiny. Night fell quietly, and the entire ancient castle was enveloped in darkness. The silence was so oppressive. I lay on the ancient bed with the carved headboard, trying to fall asleep, but the eerie images of the castle kept flashing through my mind, and I could not calm down. The air in the room seemed to have frozen, and only the occasional crow cawing from the window broke the suffocating silence. I tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Just as I was about to drift off to sleep, a faint light flickered in front of my eyes. I opened my eyes wide, and my heart leapt into my throat. I thought I was hallucinating, but when I looked more closely, I saw a figure standing in the corner of the room. The figure was wearing a retro black suit, a bit worn but still showing the signs of its former elegance. His slender figure cast an elegant and mysterious silhouette in the dim light. I stared at him, my body rigid with fear. He walked slowly towards me, each step seeming to land on my heartbeat. As he drew closer, I gradually saw his face. His skin was pale and translucent, his features exquisite like a sculpture, a high, straight nose, thin lips curled up in a faint smile. And his eyes, deep and melancholy, seemed to hold endless stories. I wanted to scream, but my throat felt like it was blocked, and I couldn't make a sound. I looked at him in horror, my heart filled with fear, but strangely, in the midst of that fear, there was a faint, inexplicable attraction. He just stood quietly by the side of my bed, looking at me with gentle eyes, as if we had some kind of special connection. "Don't be afraid, Isabella," he finally said, his voice low and magnetic as if it came from another world. Hearing him call out my name made me even more surprised. How did he know my name? I opened my mouth to ask him who he was, but I couldn't say a word. He sat down gently by the bed and reached out to touch my face, but I instinctively tried to avoid him, but my body wouldn't listen. His hand stopped in midair, and a flash of disappointment crossed his eyes. "I won't hurt you. I'm just so lonely. I've been waiting for you here for a long time." There was a trace of sadness in his voice, which made my heart tremble. Just then, a cold wind blew through, the window was blown open with a clang, and the curtains danced wildly in the wind. I shivered, and when I looked back again, the mysterious figure had disappeared, and the room returned to its previous silence. But my heart could not calm down for a long time. Who was this mysterious figure? Why did he appear here? And why did he know my name? Countless questions swirled in my mind, making me even more curious and fearful of this ancient castle. Ever since I saw that mysterious figure that night, he has been occupying my thoughts. During the day, I wandered around the castle, trying to find any clues he might have left behind, but apart from the room I was staying in, I found nothing unusual. At night, I lay in bed, full of anticipation, hoping he would appear again. Finally, on another silent night, when the moonlight shone through the window and fell on my face, I felt the familiar breath. I slowly opened my eyes and saw him standing in the center of the room, still wearing the same retro black suit. In the moonlight, his figure looked even more ethereal and charming. This time, I no longer felt fear, but curiosity and anticipation. I sat up and looked at him. His eyes still had that deep melancholy, but there was also a hint of tenderness. "Who are you?" I finally found the courage to break the suffocating silence. He was slightly taken aback, as if he hadn't expected me to speak. Then he smiled gently, a smile like the warm spring sun that instantly dispelled the chill in my heart. "My name is Adrian, and I was once the owner of this ancient castle." His voice was still low and full of magnetism, and every word seemed to have a magic power, making me involuntarily immersed in it. I looked at him in amazement, not expecting this mysterious figure to be the former owner of the castle. "So why are you here? And why do you know my name?" I asked a series of questions that were on my mind. Adrian slowly walked to the window, looking out at the moonlight, a hint of sadness in his eyes. "This castle is cursed. The ghosts of me and the other previous owners are trapped here, unable to leave. And you, Isabella, you have a special aura about you that allows us to appear for a short time." He turned his head and looked at me, his eyes full of affection. "As for your name, I knew it before you arrived, as if there was a mysterious force guiding me." I listened to his words, my heart filled with shock and confusion. So this ancient castle hides such a terrible secret, and I am actually inextricably linked to all of this. "Then you said you've been waiting for me here for a long time. Why?" I couldn't help but ask. Adrian walked over to me and gently took my hand in his. His hand was cold, but it gave me an inexplicable sense of warmth. "Because for so many years, I have wandered alone in this ancient castle. It wasn't until I felt your breath that I knew you were the one I had been waiting for." His voice was resolute. "I know that our encounter is forbidden, but I can't control my emotions." I looked at him, and a complex emotion welled up in my heart. I knew that it was against the grain to develop feelings for a ghost, but in his eyes I saw sincerity and longing. Just as we were looking at each other, there was a sudden howl of wind outside the window, as if to remind us of the danger of this forbidden love. But at the moment, we were both immersed in each other's world and unable to extricate ourselves. Since that in-depth conversation with Adrian, my feelings for him have grown deeper, and I have become more curious about the secrets hidden in this ancient castle. During the day, I shuttled around every corner of the castle, trying to find more clues about the curse from the ancient books and old objects. At night, I would meet Adrian and listen to him talk about the castle's former glory and its current loneliness. However, the peaceful days did not last long. One night, as Adrian and I were immersed in our conversation, the air in the room suddenly became extremely cold, and the light around us began to flicker. Then, several indistinct figures gradually appeared in the room. My heart tightened, and I instinctively leaned towards Adrian. He gently took my hand and tried to comfort me. "Don't be afraid. They are like me, the previous owners of the castle who are trapped here." I looked at them trembling and saw that they were of different appearances, some dressed in magnificent noble costumes, while others wore simple everyday clothes, but their eyes all revealed a kind of longing and loneliness. One of the taller spirits slowly walked up to me. His face looked a little hideous in the dim light. "Isabella, the aura around you not only allows us to appear, but also has the potential to break this accursed curse." His voice was low and hoarse, as if it came from deep underground. I looked at him in surprise, then at Adrian, my mind full of doubts. Adrian nodded slightly, with a hint of helplessness in his eyes. "What they said is true, The curse of this ancient castle has a long history, and every male owner has been bound here, and your appearance may be the key to breaking the curse. I felt dizzy, never thinking that I would get involved in such a complicated matter. But what should I do? I asked helplessly. The other ghost sneered. To break the curse, there must be a price, perhaps your life or your soul. His words were like a cold knife, piercing my heart. I looked at Adrian, hoping he could give me a clear answer. Adrian held my hand tightly, his eyes firm. No matter what, I will never let you get hurt. But I also saw a trace of worry in his eyes. As I continued to communicate with these spirits, I gradually gained a fuller picture of the curse. It turned out that the first owner of the castle had angered a mysterious force through greed and betrayal, causing all subsequent male owners to be trapped here. And for some reason, I had an aura that could connect with this mysterious force. The truth that has emerged has plunged me into a state of deep fear and confusion. I long to help Adrian and the other ghosts break free from the curse, but I am afraid of the unknown price. What's more, I am torn between my forbidden feelings for Adrian and the complex situation. The wind outside the window is getting stronger and stronger, blowing the windows of the ancient castle, clinking, and sounding as if it is wailing for the difficult decision I am about to face. Ever since I learned the truth about the curse of the castle, fear and anxiety have been occupying my heart. However, before I could recover from these complicated emotions, an unexpected piece of news came like a bolt from the blue. My husband suddenly decided to come to the castle to visit me. The moment I heard the news, my mind went blank. I knew that my husband's arrival would most likely disrupt the situation, which seemed calm but was actually surging with hidden currents. How would Adrian and the other ghosts react? Would they hurt my husband? Countless worries swirled in my head, making me restless. A few days later, my husband's figure finally appeared at the front door of the castle. He was wearing a sharp suit and a concerned look on his face, but in my eyes, his arrival was like the fuse of an impending crisis. As soon as my husband set foot in the castle, the atmosphere in the hall became extremely strange. It was as if the quiet air had suddenly frozen and the temperature had dropped. I could see the shadows of Adrian and the other ghosts looming in the corner, their eyes betraying a sense of vigilance and discontent. "Honey, why is this castle so eerie? Are you okay here alone?" My husband asked with concern, as if he hadn't noticed the strange atmosphere around him. I forced myself to remain calm and forced a smile. "I'm fine, I'm just not used to the environment here." But my voice trembled involuntarily. Just then, a ghost suddenly let out a low growl, the sound echoing in the empty hall and shaking people's eardrums. My husband's face instantly turned pale, and he looked around in horror. What was that sound? Before I could answer, Adrian's figure suddenly appeared in front of us. His eyes were filled with complex emotions, both reluctance towards me and hostility towards my husband's arrival. "You shouldn't be here," Adrian said coldly to my husband. My husband looked at Adrian, his eyes full of fear and confusion. Who are you?" Adrian did not answer his question, but turned to look at me. "Isabella, you must make a choice, whether to leave with him or stay here with me." I was in a dilemma. On the one hand, there was my husband, who had been by my side for many years, and who had given me stability and care in real life. On the other hand, there was Adrian, whom I loved dearly, and whose loneliness and deep affection for me I could not bear to part with. At this moment, the ghosts seemed to be waiting for my decision as well. Their gazes were fixed on me, and a tense atmosphere filled the air. "No, I won't let you take her." My husband suddenly rushed forward to protect me. But his actions angered the other spirits, and they appeared one after the other, closing in on my husband. I screamed in terror, tears streaming down my face. I knew that a crisis had fully descended, and I had to find a solution as soon as possible, otherwise both my husband and Adrian would be in danger. The atmosphere in the hall of the castle was tense, and a thrilling conflict seemed to be about to break out. At this moment of tension, my heart felt as if it were being torn into a million pieces. Looking at my husband's face, distorted by fear, and Adrian's eyes, full of expectation and pain, I felt as if I were on the edge of a bottomless abyss, where every choice could lead to irreparable consequences. The ghosts were closing in, and my husband's body trembled slightly, but he still stood firmly in front of me. He held my hand tightly, and although his hands were soaked in cold sweat, they conveyed an unmistakable strength. "Isabella, no matter what they are, let's get out of here together." Adrian's figure swayed slightly in the darkness, and his voice trembled slightly. "Isabella, can you really bear to leave me like this? Have you forgotten everything between us?" My tears flowed uncontrollably, blurring my vision. I thought of the bits and pieces of my past with my husband, those ordinary but warm days, his careful care when I was sick, and his gentle comfort when I was sad. But how could I forget my encounter with Adrian? The warmth and companionship he gave me in this gloomy ancient castle? That forbidden love was like a poppy, and I couldn't stop. I don't know, I sobbed, my internal struggle almost driving me insane. At that moment, an elderly ghost spoke slowly, his voice low and full of vicissitudes. "Isabella, if you want to save them, you must make a sacrifice. We have been trapped here for many years, and only you can break this curse. The price is that you must completely let go of your feelings for Adrian." This condition hit my heart like a heavy hammer. Let go of my feelings for Adrian? That was my only consolation in this ancient castle, a glimmer of light in the darkness. But if I didn't do this, my husband and Adrian would both be in danger. I looked at Adrian, and a flash of pain crossed his eyes, but he forced himself to look calm. "Isabella, if you think this will make you happy, I'm willing to let go." Then I looked at my husband. His eyes were full of expectation, waiting for me to return to his side and to the normal world. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath as if I had used up all my strength. Finally, I spoke with difficulty. I choose to lift the curse and let go of this relationship." The moment I said these words, my heart felt as if it had been emptied, and a sharp pain struck. Adrian's body trembled slightly, and a wry smile appeared on his face. My husband, on the other hand, held me tightly and said, "It's okay, it's all over now." However, I knew that this was only the beginning. The road to lifting the curse would surely be full of hardships, and I would lose the most important part of my life in the process. But for the safety of my family, I had no choice. The atmosphere in the castle remained oppressive, and I was about to embark on a path full of uncertainty and pain. After I made my choice, the atmosphere in the castle remained heavy and suffocating. I prepared myself mentally for the difficult journey ahead. Although my heart was full of pain and reluctance, I knew there was no turning back. Just as I was about to follow the method the older ghost had mentioned to find the key to lift the curse, Adrian suddenly appeared in front of me. His figure seemed a bit illusory in the dim light, but his eyes were unwavering. "Isabella, I can't let you do this." Adrian's voice was low and powerful, with an unwavering determination. I looked at him in surprise, a complex emotion welling up in my heart. "Adrian, this is the only way. It's the only way to break the curse and ensure the safety of my husband." I tried to convince him, but my voice trembled. Adrian slowly shook his head, with a gentle smile on his face. "No, Isabella, I have found another way, a way that does not require you to sacrifice your feelings for me, and that can set everyone free." My heart trembled, and my eyes were full of disbelief. "Really? You're not lying to me?" I asked anxiously, as if I had seen a glimmer of hope in the darkness. Adrian nodded gently. "Why would I lie to you? These days, I have been secretly looking for clues to break the curse. I found that, in fact, the root cause of the curse is not impossible to eliminate, but is sealed by a powerful force. As long as we can find the key to the seal, we can break the curse." I looked at him, my heart filled with emotion and joy. So what should we do?" I asked impatiently. Adrian took my hand. His hand was still cold, but it made me feel incredibly at ease. "We need to find the forgotten secret room in the ancient castle, where the key item to breaking the seal is hidden. But the entrance to the secret room is very hidden, and there are many traps, so we must be careful." At this point, my husband walked over. Although there was still a hint of wariness in his eyes, he seemed to sense a glimmer of hope when he saw Adrian and I looking so determined. "If there's a way, then let's try it together," my husband said. So the three of us set off on a journey to find the secret room in this gloomy old castle. With every step, my heart was filled with anticipation and nervousness. I didn't know what awaited us ahead, but with Adrian and my husband by my side, I no longer seemed so afraid. We searched every corner of the castle and finally found an ordinary-looking stone slab in a study full of old books. Adrian looked at it carefully and was sure that it was the key to the secret room. When we followed the instructions on the stone slab and triggered a hidden mechanism, a wall in the study slowly opened to reveal a deep passage. Looking at the passage, I took a deep breath, exchanged a determined look with Adrian and my husband, and then stepped into the unknown darkness together. I don't know what the outcome of this adventure will be, but I believe that as long as we are together, we will definitely find a way to lift the curse and usher in new hope. As the three of us stepped into the dark passage, a damp, decaying smell hit my face, and I couldn't help but cover my nose and mouth. The passage was pitch black, illuminated only by the faint light in Adrian's hands, which swayed in the darkness as if it would extinguish at any moment. The ground was uneven, and we had to be careful with every step for fear of falling. Strange noises came from the walls from time to time, as if something was peering at us in the dark. My husband tightly gripped my hand. His palms were covered in sweat. I could feel his fear, but he still walked firmly by my side. As we continued deeper, the passage gradually narrowed and the air became thinner. Suddenly, a huge stone door appeared in front of us. The door was covered in mysterious runes, and it gave off a strange glow. Adrian walked up to it and carefully studied the runes, a solemn look on his face. "This is the last barrier protecting the key item. The power of the runes is very strong. We must find the correct method to decipher them, otherwise if the mechanism is triggered, the consequences will be unimaginable," said Adrian. The three of us gathered around the stone door, carefully observing the arrangement and pattern of the runes. Time passed by minute. Just as I felt despair, my husband suddenly pointed at a rune and exclaimed, "Look, the arrangement of this rune is similar to the pattern on the stone tablet we found." Adrian and I hurried over, and after some careful comparison, we found that my husband was right. So, we followed the pattern on the stone tablet and tried to adjust the runes on the stone door. When the last rune was in place, the stone door made a dull sound and slowly opened. Behind the door was a small secret chamber, with an ancient box sitting on a stone platform in the center. Adrian walked over and carefully opened the box, and a blinding flash of light instantly illuminated the entire secret chamber. The box contained the key item to unlock the seal, a crystal that exuded a mysterious power. The moment Adrian picked up the crystal, the entire ancient castle began to shake violently. Cracks appeared on the walls, and the shadows of the ghosts appeared one after the other. Their faces showed a look of relief, and with a flash of light, the ghosts gradually faded away. Adrian looked at me, his eyes full of tenderness and reluctance. "Isabella, I can finally be relieved, but I will always remember you." After saying that, his figure gradually became transparent and finally disappeared into the air. I looked at the place where Adrian disappeared, and tears welled up in my eyes again. My husband gently embraced me in his arms. "Let's go. It's all over." We walked out of the castle, the sunlight warm and bright on our shoulders. Looking back, the once eerie castle, bathed in the sunlight, gradually regained its peace. And that forbidden love affair with the ghost will forever remain an unforgettable memory in my heart, reminding me of the stories of love and courage I have experienced.